This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
It's hard to give up the 35-yard line on a touchback when last year the average drive start was the 30. So it's hard to walk in and say, hey, we're just going to give 5 yards. But I can't tell you exactly how many, but I would say pretty much most of them guys are going to try to cover.
Do you expect to use the preseason to see what works and doesn't, or are you kind of saving that for the regular season?
Scheme-wise, we'll save, but we'll try to cover every kick because we owe it to our players to find, who the best guys are. So we'll try to cover every single rep that we can to see who the cover players should be and shouldn't be. But from a scheme standpoint, we're going to try to save some stuff. I think everybody will.
Do you like the rule?
I love the rule. I love the rule. And the big thing is our special teams players now, they got to work every single play. There's going to be a tackle. You got to block somebody every single play. So at the end of the season, you're going to have guys with 20 tackles on kickoff. And last year we covered, I think, only like 27, 28. You get that up near the 70s, and your special teams players' value, it skyrockets. And they want to play. They're football players. They want to make plays. Same thing on KOR. They want to block. And your returner value skyrockets. Last year you got 20 returns. This year that player has 70. I don't know in the league who gets 70 touches before the season starts. That kick returner is going to get more than – he's guaranteed more touches other than your halfbacks.
How do you see Genty so far?
Genty, he's doing great for us. He's a natural catcher, which is the most important thing. You got to have the ball first. But he's got really, really good run skill. He's just got an ability to square all defenders up. And when you square, when people say, hey, what's so great about that? It gives him a two-way go. You can square somebody up. You can beat him both ways. So he's been impressive, and he acts like a rookie, and he works like a rookie. So that's, to me, that's straight respect for the vets, too.
Is it easier, I guess fight's not the right word, but easier discussion to say, hey, we need our best guys out on the
Yeah, our best kick returner, regardless of who they are, where they're drafted, that's a guy that's going to play. So I think that's what everybody's going to do.
Is Jack figure you find small special teams somewhere?
Every player, and I'll just be cutthroat with you. Every one of our players is playing special teams. Every starter. Every player is playing. So, yes, every single guy right now is playing. When you're watching practice, there's nobody that doesn't play special teams reps.
Where can he help you on special teams?
Contact, positions. You know what I'm saying from that standpoint. A lot of receivers, play strength-wise, will struggle a little bit on kickoff return because it's a 5-yard box now. The blocking's from 5 yards, where before it was a 3rd and 18 play. It's a 4th and short play now. If you really study the play, so you need big guys like him at play strength. He's a rare wide receiver that can play in the interior on punt. He's not necessarily just a gunner. So I'd say his contact play strength is very good.
He used to like contact.
Oh, no question. Jack's tough.
He did it in college.
Yes.
He did it out here.
Yeah, Jack's tough. That's not a question.
See a good mix of guys kind of handling kick and punt return. You see guys like Sincere or Dylan or Tommy even. When you look at these guys, what are some things that you've really liked about them so far as to kind of why they, attribute to that factor in the game?
The big thing is from a kick return standpoint, it's going to come down to a little bit of play strength. A guy that's 160 pounds, 100 reps, pounding it up in there, it'll wear on him a little bit. So we're trying to get some of them bigger bodies, to catch the football. I think everybody's kind of doing that. That doesn't mean Trey Tucker can't be your kick returner. It's just that we're using all those guys to find the best player, but it's more of the halfback type, body type, is what I think you're going to see in the league, especially with the numbers going so high with kick returns. But we're going to use everybody, and they're all working hard. The best thing that they're doing is they're catching the ball, every single type of kick, and we're hitting line drives at them. We're hitting balls that hit the ground at them. It's not going to be the 4-0 hang time because you don't give your kickoff team a head start. They can go when the ball hits the ground. It doesn't make a lot of sense to kick it right into their arms because you're waiting at the 40-yard line. So they're doing a good job.
How has Daniel been adjusting to all the different things you want him to do? And I guess is the ideal to at least bounce at once?
I think the ideal is not just the bounce, but the location of the kick. That's the biggest part of it. And he's adjusting well. He knows what both our specialists have a toolbox. and we give them a pretty light toolbox, to be honest with you, the kicks that we're going to do, the punts that we use, and then they master those. And then it's my job to make sure that we don't kick the same one all the time. But the ball he's kicking, whether it's right, left, or middle, is really the same ball, just to be honest with you. You know, consistency is perfection, and we want to make that toolbox small, but can he go everywhere with it?
You mentioned everybody playing special teams. Max has been on the field goal out in the kicking team. Is that something that you would expect to see, or is he just kind of setting a tone out there?
No, we're not going to waste reps. I mean, everybody that's out there, that's a position they're possibly going to play in the season. Yeah, I mean, if I use Max on field goal and we're not going to ever use him during the season, it's not good, coach. You know, we're wasting reps. So those guys everybody's competing for a position, and he's trying to win that job.
The motto for the team this offseason has been compete, right? In competition, and it's the first day in full pads. So what was that dynamic like getting?
It was really good. You know, we went punt, you guys saw it, and then we had punt return against it, and it was full rush. You know, and so you always worry a little bit about guys getting too close to your punter because you only got one of those. But the big thing we wanted to see is, you know, our strike progression, you know, our communication, things like that. So it's the first time we could ever take that third step on the rush. And, you know, we could go fourth and fifth step, and now it forces your punt team to be strikers. It forces your punt return unit to get on edges. And then you saw the gunners and the vice really, really competing because in this league, you know, they're on their own field. In this league, the gunners are the only guys that can leave when the ball snapped. So we created a lot of competition today, and every single guy got a rep within the competition.
He said himself that there are so many positions where you don't really know what you have until the pads come on. How have you seen that with players you evaluate?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, because it's especially on special teams, it's a play strength sport. You know, especially with the new kickoff, it's not, you can't hide guys on the backside anymore. You know, the guys that are a small corner, a small wideout. I shouldn't say small, a guy that plays small. Okay, you can't hide those guys anymore. Everybody's right up front. You have to have play strength. So the pad part of it really, really is very important, and we have to do a great job of managing the reps and what we're trying to get out of it so that we can get better.
Every year he's finds ways to get better. I guess what has he got better at this offseason?
I'll tell you what I think. I think he's really doing a good job of getting that ball outside the red line. You know, he's given us a rectangle that's very, very small, and that's important to him. You know, he wants to punt the ball to the gunners. You know, you guys have heard me say A squared plus B squared is C squared. Let him punt the C squared and let us run the A squared. And he's bought into that, and, you know, he always has, but he's getting better and better. He's a competitor now. He's a good football player. Thank you so much.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.